Welcome back to Outspoken, where we wave the flag, speak the truth, and leave the sugarcoating to the folks still watching cable news. Today, we're diving into the chaos exploding across America over immigration enforcement. Riots in the street, detention centers under siege, ICE and WAYMO vehicles set on fire. Come on, guys. All waved off as compassion. But let's be honest, what's really driving this? Who's footing the bill when laws are trashed? And who gets thrown under the bus so politicians can polish their halos and call it virtue? Before we get started, make sure and smash that like button, subscribe to Outspoken, share the show with everyone you know, and hit that bell icon to get updated when we upload a new episode. Let's get it started with illegals first and citizens last.
All right, well, welcome back, guys. And Jay, immigration reform is nothing new. We've been talking about this for years and years. I remember as a child, I remember hearing about this. It's just a topic that never goes away because immigration never goes away. We have bordering countries and countries that are not bordering us that people still come from. So this is nothing new. Immigration has gone away from a concern to more of a political handle. And I say this because it's no longer about the law, but who is saying it. And I think that's important to know.
Absolutely. Well, there's a lot of hypocrisy in politics, right? So when Joe Biden was a senator, he made it clear the federal government must enforce immigration laws and should not fund states that offer sanctuary to illegal immigrants. When asked directly whether he would allow cities to defy federal law, his answer was a very firm no.
Well, of course it was. The other thing is, and this is the thing with these lefties, is that like under President Obama, he called out the National Guard and deployed them in the southern border several times. And I remember he even requested over $500 billion from Congress to bolster border security. If Trump was doing that, or a Republican for that matter, it would be chaos, right? Because, oh my God, the National Guard, why do you need that? These are human beings and blah, blah, blah.
Right. Well, even his senior advisor to Obama, Cecilia Munoz,
I remember
she
her.
acknowledged the harsh reality in 2011. Families would be separated. Quote, "We don't have to like it," she said. When asked if deporting over 400,000 people annually would continue, her answer was a blunt yes, as long as Congress funds it. Quote, "Again, that's our obligation under the law," she stated.
See, so that's the thing I don't understand. Why was there nothing said back in 2011? Not a big deal. Let's just continue with our day. Let's go grocery shopping. But it's a hard, cruel reality for this presidency, right? So I don't know if you know, let's take it back a little bit. Back in 1996, when Bill Clinton was president, he signed the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigration Responsibility Act of 1996, which allowed the deportation without judicial hearing through a process called expedited removal. So, all these people crying about like due process, blah, blah. Bill Clinton signed that into law and it was passed. In 2019, Trump administration expanded that expedited removal to go nationwide because it was initially just for border towns, and he made it go nationwide, and it was for. So the rule was if you cannot prove that you're in the country for 2 years or more, expedited, boom, out of here. So Trump expanded that to go not just border towns, but throughout the United States, which makes sense. Nobody stays at the border town, especially if you're illegal. You're like, it's too close for comfort. I'm heading in town.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
they can just broom me back really quick. Yeah, if I'm farther inland, it's a little harder to get rid of me.
I'm not going to make it easy for them, bro. I'm not going to do it, right? So what's happening now? So let's start with what's happening on the ground, right? So it is like Los Angeles, Chicago, New York. What is the commonality between these cities? Jay, tell me, what is it?
They are like, remember when you used to shop at Kmart and they had a blue light special, dude? It is like the brightest blue you could possibly
So now you
muster up.
You put out the U.S. map, and these blue states, you have this bright blue flashing light like at Kmart, right?
Yeah.
These are telling the illegal immigrants, come here. Please come to our sanctuary cities, right? So now what we're seeing in sanctuary cities is we're seeing massive protests, which have turned violent. And of course, we cannot forget the beautiful beautiful looting that goes along with it. It's all because the new crackdowns on sanctuary city funding, which is all authorized. This is a law. If you're not following the law, then guess what? You're breaking the law, right? There's only two options. You follow the law or you break the law. This isn't like an organic outrage, right? It's a coordinated effort, man. There's buses of protesters showing up, right? With matching signs with these people get together online and just like, hey, brothers, right?
Right.
So, there's social media campaigns, right? There's preloaded hashtags, all kinds of stuff talking about these riots, this violent behavior. You see it with this. You mentioned earlier, upcoming event called what is that called?
Oh yeah, just this last Saturday, it was the No Kings event.
Yeah, that thing that just happened. That
kind of all over the country.
Again, we're watching public institutions under siege because they dare to enforce the law, which is ridiculous. And this raises a big question. What did enforcing immigration law become an act of oppression? When? You know what I mean? Like, when did that happen?
I mean, in my opinion, there's so many cases of this kind of thing going on, right? And really, this is all about a political movement. We were talking just earlier in this when we started that we had previous presidents that had already deported a ton of people, put into law, all kinds of things, and had really harsh sentiment and or words for illegal immigration.
Barack was one of the worst.
Barack, actually, he's the deporter in chief. They still call it that. Even with all the people that have come in the last 4 years, right? The Trump administration has still not gotten anywhere close to what Obama did, which we need to now because we have more people here. And we've already found out that a lot of those folks are really dangerous people. Totally look at this and see it as a 100% political outrage thing, right? There's bricks put out on the, sidewalks and stuff. The same kind of stuff happened with
BLM,
the BLM,
Antifa.
And it was the same thing. And it's like, okay, I get it. You believe a police officer did something to a black person and you don't feel good about that. I get that. And I can sympathize with you. However, this happens all the time in cities where there's two people of the same color, same ethnicity, same religion.
Just say, brother, when is it when a black cop does it to a black teenager or a black adult? You don't hear it on the news.
You don't say nothing. They don't say anything about
because it doesn't fit the narrative.
It doesn't fit the narrative. So all of this stuff, when it was Obama, when it was Clinton, these things did not fit the narrative, right? So it's fitting the narrative now that Trump's this overreaching oligarch or whatever they're trying to call him now. He's a fascist. He's a this and that. And
the name calling is the pride doesn't stop.
Yeah. Well, and people don't know definitions of things anyways. They are being indoctrinated by professors and everything else that tell them to say one thing and that's all they do. They just repeat it like a parrot out there. So if the whole deal is that people are being taken away by ICE, why is things like the poor WAYMO cars, why are they getting beat up, man? Like, what did they do to anybody?
Here's the thing, man. WAYMO doesn't see if you're illegal or not, bro. All you got to need is an app on your phone.
If you got the app and you got the money in your pocket,
bro, you're going on a ride, right? You're going on
a
ride. Could you imagine if they did that? Like, hey, show your citizenship. WAYMO will be taking you to the ICE offices instead of like to the movie theater. You know what I mean? But that's not the reality of things. So let's look at the reality of illegal immigration. Let's be real, Jay. Illegal immigration isn't just about seeking a better life, right? Because that's their child. They want a better life. That's the emotion first narrative. Right. The reality is that there's a cost behind this, a massive cost. And it's not just on the families that are here or the families of those that are crossing and coming here, but schools are getting overwhelmed. Emergency rooms are getting packed. Entire counties are shifting budgets, right, to provide housing, legal aid, translators, food stamps, all kinds of stuff. Right. And the taxpayers, us, the citizens, we're footing the bill for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Middle class Americans struggle to keep up with inflation right now. Everybody's complaining, right? What happened? Trump's going to fix inflation, blah, blah. But they're all good with illegal immigration and supporting that. Like watching these cities, bro, bend backwards for people who came here illegally, to me, does not make sense. Not to mention the exploitation of human trafficking, child labor, wage suppression, right? People like, there's no wage. If you could pay an illegal much less than you can someone that is a citizen, they're going to take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
And here's the funny thing about it, Jane. You've brought this up before, where you have, I believe it was a congresswoman saying that, who's going to pick our vegetables? Who's going to take care of our... Yes. I'm like, is that what you want us here for? Like, really? I mean, that's what we're looked at, but so the reality is that illegal immigration is a burden. It's a burden on our government, but it's a burden on our taxpayers because the government is a non-money making agency. They don't make money. Well, maybe the IRS does. Other than that, no one makes money. It's not like a police department where they fund themselves by providing tickets and blah blah blah, and they still have a budget. The United States depends who's in presidency. They could just print some more money, but we don't have money. So most of the money comes from our taxes, the taxes that we pay to the federal government, to the state, things of that nature is how we're funded. Now, if that's being diverted to help illegal aliens who I chose not to, I mean, it's my tax money. Why should that go to them? Why should they exhaust that budget that I have for me? Like if I get injured or if I can't find a job, is there going to be money left for me to get unemployment? You know what I mean? Like, why is that so difficult to understand? And why can't these politicians look out for their constituents first? Like saying, look, man, I understand people are coming here to look for a better job, a better life. We have to take care of our people first, guys. I hope you understand that. You know what I mean?
Let me give you a little number really quick on that. So the average Social Security recipient receives $1,223 per month after working for 50 years. So imagine that. You're born in this country. Doesn't matter what your skin color is. You're born in this country, Social Security, all that kind of stuff. So the average Social Security recipient receives $1,223 per month after working 50 years.
English.
Illegal immigration receives $3,874 monthly after breaking into the U.S. in 50 minutes.
It sounds like we need to leave and come back to the Rio Grande.
Yeah.
And get some money.
It's a ridiculous thing, man, that we have allowed. And here's part of the thing, and from the law enforcement side of things, Joe, is that if we allow people to get away with stuff, what are they going to do? Well, they're just going to do it more, right? And so something was brought up, and it's kind of a silly analogy, but I think it's a very pertinent one. So if we were to go down to Mexico and we take U.S. flags with us, and we start a protest down there, and we start waving U.S. flags, and we start burning their cars and breaking into their stuff and saying, you can't make us leave, what do you think's going to happen?
Oh, well, after the cartel's done with us and the local police department picks up our body parts, we'll get sent back to America.
Yeah,
right?
We'll get sent back in a pie and box.
But here's the thing, Jay, and you made a good point on that. This has nothing to do with illegal immigration, but you have white people, excuse my French, lack of color.
They might be French. Who knows?
We have lack of color people. We have Americans, white folk, my white kin move into Mexico to live and retire, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can look it up. I've seen this. And they go and they move in next door to a bar, to a restaurant. They have music, they have mariachi, they got going down, and they go complain. It's like, you need to shut that down. Blah, blah, we're trying to sleep, blah, blah, blah. Chaos ensues, right? Because they're not going to take that. They're like, you're in our country. Get out, right?
Right. You moved here?
Yeah.
You moved next to the
I'm sorry. We've been living with this kind of music next door.
Well,
look, let's be honest. As a little Mexican child, bro, you've been sleeping on chairs at quinceañeras, at fiestas, with music going on, everybody partying, bro, and you're knocked out.
All you hear is a tuba in the background.
Right, and you're knocked out, bro.
So I'm going to tell you something. Those same friggin' white people are the ones that are here in this country that buy a house on the landing side of an airport and complain about the jets all the time.
Oh yeah, but you're right. So this thing,
they're the Karens and the Kins of the world, man. That are just no matter where they go.
Las Karens in Mexico. There was this. Just a street worker, had a little vest on, took a little lunch. He sat in front of the house of someone. He had a little like a little wall, and behind the little wall, he had a little garden. He sat there to have his lunch. This guy came home and said, "Get out my thing. Go on the street and eat. Don't come here with your dirty self and whatever." The guy looked white. The people who saw that thought he was white. They thrashed his house, bro. A group of people piled in front of his house, threw rocks. Cops had to come in. They destroyed his house. The guy ended up being Mexican. You're just a white Mexican. And
Wedo.
Yeah. It goes to show you that you disrespect anything culturally part of Mexico in any way, you're gonna get your ass beat. Yeah. Some dude from I don't know what country he came from, but he was migrating up to the US. He was waving his flag. Remember that time we talked about that they were not happy because Mexico was giving them like bean burritos and things like and they were all mad about it. This guy was waving a flag from his country, bro. Right. The Mexicans went, they grabbed that flag, like, don't you wave that shit in my country?
Yeah.
Get out. And they're about to rock them.
Bro, if we've talked about all the different places, we're going to visit eventually, right? Mm-hmm. Once we're fully retired and can't walk anymore. So we have.
And get our $1,500 a month paycheck from Social Security. Yep.
Let's say we go to wherever, man.
Mhm.
We go to Mexico, we go to England, we go to Australia, we
Yeah.
go to Thailand, we go to Japan, we go wherever. We're not going to be taking our American flag
No.
baseball caps and stuff like
No.
that. Dude,
No.
the whole reason we're going to that country is for what? To enjoy whatever
the
it
culture.
is.
Enjoy the culture, bro.
Absolutely.
That's it.
You know?
Here's the thing, and you make a valid point, because I am an American first, right? I was born here. I'm an American with Mexican heritage, right? My roots are rooted in Mexican culture, and I love my Mexican culture. In my house, I might have an Aztec calendar. Right?
Yeah.
I might have an Aztec
And
tattoo on me.
That's even farther back than Mexico, right?
Exactly. That back in
It's just
Aztec
like
times, Aztec warrior time. You know, this was even before. This was after the Mayas. I could have gone back to the Maya times, bro. But I just went Aztec. I didn't want to go too far back. You know what I mean? You know, I could have whatever pride I want in my house, and there's nothing wrong with being proud of being Mexican and my heritage, the culture, how beautiful Mexico is. But I was born in the United States. I was a first generation Mexican, right? Well, I kind of sad because my mom, she was born in Texas, so she thinks she's Texan, and she never said she was American. She was Texan. That is just the reality of things, that I honor this country because I'm in this country. I was raised in this country. I use the resources of this country. So this is where and true, let me tell you, true Mexicans, those that have struggled, the ones that did this correctly, the ones that spent years and years funding themselves to try to become citizens here, and ultimately have, you know, disconnected with their family because they have to be separated. There's so many things that they have to do. They're proud to receive that citizenship. They're proud to wave that flag, and they say, and they'll tell you, nah, my people, this country's been good to me. I love Mexico. Yeah. That's my country. And if I could go visit now, but this country provides for me and for my family, you know, and they don't disrespect it. And that's the problem that we're having. But in all this chaos, and we just talked about the cost of it, who is in reality, now that we're focusing on illegal immigrants and that we're praising them, who is being ignored? Who gets pushed aside when illegal immigration is celebrated, bro? I'm going to tell you who. The American worker, the veterans, homeless citizens. There's a lot of them. Kids in foster care. Everything that you could think of is now pushed to the side, is ignored. Why? Because we give priority to people who have come to this country illegally. Now, I know it sounds harsh, and I know it sounds like I'm not empathetic at all to what's going on. But, bro, my dad was an illegal. My dad came here and started his paperwork correctly. He had to go back to Mexico a couple times, you know, but he did what he did. He had to pay money. He had to get an attorney. But at the end of the day, he did what he thought was the best thing for his family. Because could you imagine? It's like, let's say, heaven forbid, you do something illegal, bad. You hit somebody, you stole something, whatever the case is. Now you're going to be living your life like, man, when are they going to come for me? What if they find me? What if they get... You're always going to be walking around with that monkey on your back, you know, like not knowing when they're going to come and get you. I would assume that being an illegal immigrant would have the same feeling. And who wants to live that way? When I see these people on Tickety Talk and they say, you know, my dad has been working so hard for 25 years and he's done nothing wrong. Yeah, 25 years and become legal. Well, you know, like, if you are truly out there looking for the protection, to look out for your family, to ensure their future, wouldn't you become at least a green card holder? At least that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there was I don't know if you saw that deal. There was a guy and he's sitting there crying because they're taking his girlfriend, wife, whatever, back to Mexico. He's legal to be here. She's not. And the comments, people are like, well, if you love her that much, why wouldn't you go with her? And then the sub comments to that would be, well, but he's a citizen. Why should he have to go there? They had been together so long. He had plenty of time to marry her, pay the, what is it, $500 or whatever it is, to get her legal status through marriage and everything. And he didn't do that. And that's the thing, man. Here it comes again. So every year we have to pay taxes, right? Mm-hmm. We have to pay taxes every single year.
Allegedly.
What if the IRS, if you didn't pay your taxes, they didn't do anything about it?
Don't want to pay taxes.
Nobody would pay their damn taxes. We pay our taxes because you can be jailed. I mean, fined like crazy. And so we pay our taxes.
You have liens on your house, on your vehicles, on your children,
bank account,
on your bank account. Take them children. I never pay taxes again.
Yeah. Oh man, imagine they take the spouse. All these people like, I ain't paid taxes this year.
Your Honor, I haven't paid taxes in 14 years.
Can you take her?
She's here ready.
If there is zero consequence, then there's zero need for the effort to do the right thing, you know?
There's your key word right there. Consequences.
Consequences, yeah. And we've dropped the consequence level so far that it's just a free-for-all, man. And it's created, just like you say, with all this stuff. You know, you were talking about who's paying the price. So our veterans deserve so much more. Our
Yeah.
Retired folks deserve so much
Yep.
more. You know, people that are the working poor, right? That
You say the
work
working
every
poor?
day. The working poor,
Oh yeah.
right?
That's
That's us.
that's us. Oh, you talking about us?
So you're working every day, and you don't get to see your family because you're away from home for at least, because here's the thing. Oh, it's an 8-hour day. Well, but there's a lunch in there that I'd rather not take, but they require that. So now that puts it out to like 9 hours that you're there. It's a half-hour drive to work, maybe an hour drive depending on who you are. This turns into 11, 12 hours from the time you leave to when you're getting back home.
And that's just an 8-hour shift. Now think about those people that have 12 hours or
That's right.
or do forced overtime or
That's right.
have to, and like you,
In law enforcement
or commute, right? Over 30 minutes. You're right. It adds and adds and adds. And now all of a sudden, I'm not giving it up to men, but I mean, a lot of time, even women, a lot of times where cheating starts is a whole different episode, because you're away from home more than you are at home, right? But here's the thing. People now, today, all those Chicanos out there who are speaking for the Mexicans, and I'm talking to nationals, and even some black folks, I see them out there rioting, right? I call all them opportunists, by the way. They're not really caring about immigration, but immigration is not a race issue. It really isn't. People want to make it a race issue. It's a law issue. It's about breaking the law. And again, it doesn't matter who enforces it in reality. But the actual fact is, it's in today's society, because of that hatred that the left has put on Trump. If Trump does anything, even if it's the right thing to do, they're going to hate it, right? Because that's he's a fascist. He hates brown people, blah blah blah. Although you have Marco Rubio as one of his top dogs, and
right,
and he's even worse than a Mexican, bro. He's Cuban. You know what I mean? That's communist, bro. But here you're right, bro. And you're right. You made a valid point earlier, just a minute ago. You have all these people who are rioting, they're looting, they're destroying property over deportations, right? But they don't riot. They don't blink an eye for 10,000 veterans sleeping in tents, right?
Right.
They protest ICE, bro. They're chucking rocks, they're pushing them back, they're blocking their cars, but they're silent when it comes to fentanyl flooding our borders. Nothing. Not a peep. How do you make sense of that? How do you make sense of that? To stand your ground, to stand on your anthill, right, and say, people are illegal immigrants, blah, blah, blah. They're just people too. It's humanity. All of a sudden, there's these illegal immigrants. We should have empathy for them. You know what? Why don't you carry that same train of thought when it comes to pro-choice and pro-life? Not happening. You know what I mean?
Well, the human trafficking side of this thing, I mean, we all know about the fentanyl crisis and drugs coming across the border, and that's always been an issue, dude. That porous border has been just a cash cow for the cartels and everything, right? Bringing stuff across the border. But human trafficking is at an all-time high, and the United States has become the number one hub in the world for human trafficking. Now, how do you think that's possible? Do you think they're coming in through LAX or, LaGuardia?
No.
They are coming through a porous border. It's a mess. And the more I've said this for I don't even know how many years. I've used this example saying that there's a young lady that's running, and let's just say it's somebody from Mexico, because there's a lot of people coming from different countries that get into Mexico, right? And they come across because it's a porous border, whether they're Asian or, Indian or from Haiti or whatever these people are coming across. Let's just make it simple. It's a young girl in Mexico. She's got 2 kids. Those 2 kids are from some guy that's part of the cartel or whatever. She's tired of being beat up and raped and everything else. And so here she comes across the border, sneaks across, and ask for asylum and all that kind of stuff. And most of us, I mean, there may be some weird people out there that say, no, I don't want to, but almost all of us are going to say, let's give this girl asylum and let's, get her here, get her legally, get her started, all that kind of stuff. Here's the problem is that this young lady came across so easily, undetected and everything. It's not the problem. Like you said earlier, it's a law issue, right? It's legal. The problem is that now you have somebody that has gotten across the border undetected. So we all have been seeing the sights and sounds of Iran and Israel going at it, right? That's a whole different episode. We know that the Middle East cannot stand the West, especially the United States. That porous border allows for somebody to come through with a backpack, with a whatever kind of explosive dirty bomb, walk into downtown LA and light it off. And then guess what will happen? People will be enraged. How is this possible? How could this have happened in the United States? How could they have gotten that thing into the United States?
Yeah.
Well, here's your sign. And we need to, at one point, lock that border down, right? 100%. And it's not just so much for the people thing, it's for everything else. Again, the people that are coming here for a better life, dude, you and I have known tons of people, right, that have come here that have done it legally, illegally, and eventually got their legal status and everything, that are the most amazing people in the world, right? From Mexico or any of our southern countries going all the way down into South America. That's not the point to it. The point is that there are enough people that have a devious plan once they get here that we have to know who those folks are and be able to stop them before they do the worst. And it's going to happen.
They have to be vetted, and we don't do that because we have open borders, and that's the problem. So why is this happening? Well, we've allowed emotion to replace logic in our national conversation. Logic has gone out the window because of who is the standing president. And you can't get nothing done. You can't push policies. You can't push diplomacy. You can't push nothing when you have so much inward hatred going into your own country. And it's not, and I'm not just talking from the people, I'm talking about politicians, right? They use identity politics to paint enforcement as cruelty. Oh, they're beating them up and blah, blah. No, they're doing just what anyone else would do. Any law enforcement agency, when someone is threatening you or throwing rocks at you or breaking into something or breaking the law. And mobs respond by burning down police stations, right? We saw that with BLM. We saw that with Antifa. You know what's so funny is that we're seeing those same type of people, the purple hair colored people, the all blacked out people in these same riot, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is it's about power, man. They flood the system.
Yeah, same people, different scenario.
Correct. So they flood the system, right? They overwhelm it. They break down national identity because the law no longer matters. Who holds the power? Because if we don't hold the power as voters, because we voted for Trump, 77% of society voted for Trump, not the citizens, right? Because doesn't matter what we want, because there's non-citizens coming in here. But those who control the chaos, that's who's in power. The Soros of the world, right? Those people, they control it. And the liberals, those Chicanos out there throwing rocks and stealing and burning cars, they're being played as fools, and they go right into it. These guys have been doing it for years. Right? These people who control the chaos, they've done it for years and know how to manipulate these people, how to get to the core. Because why? What is one of the worst things to do when dealing with things is emotion, right? It's even biblical. We shouldn't deal with emotion. That's not for us to deal with. We need to trust in God and know that he's going to provide for us, and know that we shouldn't have all this anxiety, right? Because we need to let that go.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the emotions. Emotions, they're true, but they lead us to make bad decisions. You know what I mean? And I know that you saw recently that Senator Padilla, when he interrupted the secretary, how do you say her name? Noam?
Yeah.
Conference.
Noam.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
yanked his butt out of there.
Bro, I loved it. I'm like, first off, he does exactly what everyone expected him to do. Go straight to the microphone. He creates chaos, becomes the victim, and then plays a role.
Yep.
If that's how they treat a U.S. senator, imagine how they're treating. I'm like, bro, first of all, grow a pair, pull them out from underneath, be a man, right? And know that there's
haven't dropped yet.
And realize that there's consequences to your actions. If you're just going to ram in there because you are a senator and disrupt a conference, what she's doing, bro, you're going to get, and you kept rushing her. You don't do that.
Right.
You don't do that. That's like common sense 101. We don't know what law enforcement, her bodyguards, whatever you want to call them, their agents, they don't know what his intent is, senator or not, right? Stop rushing and shut your mouth. Nope. All right. Go outside. And they did. They cuffed him, put him on the ground, as they should. Those are the consequences to your actions. And if you're not ready to take that, then don't start it. Right. And I think, I'm going to tell you right now, bro, I've seen these videos of these rioters. These guys have way too much patience. That's why they shouldn't be putting people like me, a Mexican, up there to run things. So we'd be like, all right, whip all their asses and just cuff them. Yeah. And then we'll build a camp out there like Tent City in Arizona. And then they could just sit there and think about why they did what they did.
The fact that these people are whining, and completely whining. Oh my God. They hit us with, there's a few people that have been smacked with beanbag rounds and rubber bullets and stuff like that. And it's
it.
And it's like,
those 40 cals ain't playing around, bro.
Yeah, right. I'm like, You guys are lucky that's what they're doing. You're lucky that most of you aren't choking to death on tear gas. You're lucky some of you haven't got parts of you missing because, AR round went through you. If we were in a
Gender affirming care is taking care of those parts that are missing. Don't worry about it. They're fine.
in a different country, bro.
Oh, they would have been killed. They would have been executed.
This would have been so different.
The machete to the hands. You know what I mean? They'd have been done. You know what they should do is like if you burn someone's car.
It's a bunch of spoiled
Oh,
children.
they're behaving like children. They're behaving like children.
And those Nike stores, they sure they're very oppressive, so they had to steal a bunch of stuff from
Well,
there
look,
too,
man,
so.
it's not easy crossing that desert on chanclas. You need Nike or some Air Jordans to get you across in very soft terrain. But the reality of things is people they're opportunists and they take the opportunity to go steal, rob.
Absolutely.
You know what would be funny is those people that are burning cars, things like that. Like they should this is where the judges need to come in. It's like, okay, hey, you burned that car, that WAYMO? Great. All right. Bring your car. We're going to put it on fire. We're going to set it on fire just so you know what it feels like to burn other people's property, and how they feel. The problem is this, that we have a bunch of spoiled, pampered kids crying about illegal immigration, which is basically law enforcement doing their job. They do it in the comforts of their air-conditioned home on their $1,000 iPhone while uploading on TikTok, drinking their Frappuccino. And those are the things that get to me. And I'll always say that same thing all the time because you're spoiled brats that your parents never put a belt to your ass. And they should have. Yeah. And they really needed to because you guys don't know not an ounce of what it is to really suffer. To really be these people that really truly suffer, that worked like my father, that worked the field and he followed the harvest up north to Bakersfield, the armpit of California, to Delano, all them places. And he followed it back down. He had to leave. He had to pay money. He had to do all kinds of things to get a citizenship. And he honored that by continuing to work hard, creating businesses, paying his taxes, and raising a family. He did that because of this country. Because if he thought he could do that in Mexico, he would have stayed in Mexico. But he didn't. He came here. He didn't wave. My dad never waved the Mexican flag. He may have had it. He might have had it at home, but I don't even remember seeing it. But I do remember the American flag. And he honored that. My mom, clearly, she was a very big patriot. She was from Texas. But that was never a question. Like, we go to trips to Mexico with our families, that we have families down there. We'd go visit. We enjoyed the good times. And then we'd come back, right, to America. My dad never like, you need to do. No, he taught us Spanish. He taught, we spoke Spanish in the house, but English was our first language. Everything was done. And he was one of them hard ass Mexicans, right? He whoop your butt good. You know what I mean? And that's how I was raised. Today's society, they lack that. Today's generational Mexicans, the second and third, even some of the first ones, they don't. Here's a problem. Mexico has changed just as America has. It's gotten more because as we introduce more American culture into Mexico, more Starbucks, more McDonald's, more dances, more tickety talks, the more it becomes like America. Right. And I'm not saying America has its faults. I love my country. It has its faults.
Absolutely,
right?
Man.
But we don't look at it as like, oh, we look at it as a generational fault. Right, because our generations are the one that cause these problems. And in Mexico, as they're absorbing that, they're getting more relaxed and they're getting more, Americanized. But if you put today's youth, the ones that are out there picketing and rioting, throw them to Mexico for a few months. They won't want to go back, not even for vacation. I'm going to tell you that right now. What should be done? What do we need to do, Jay? What's the path forward? Where do we go from here as a society? As a nation, as immigrants? And I want to say immigrants because we're all migrated here. Okay. And here's the other thing. And I see this more and more on and we'll get back to what should be done, but let me make this a point. I've seen this time and time again. Stolen land. And it's before everything belonged to Mexico before 1846 and blah blah blah. And I'm like, did history stop at 1846? Because if we go back, Mexico belonged to Spain. And if we go back before that, to the Aztecs. If we go back before that, the Mayans. It was the indigenous people. So in reality, we're all living on stolen land, right? All these people, all these Mexicans that say they stole our land. First of all, it's not your land. It's America's land now, right? Because that's what happens, right? Second of all, you're one of the oppressors because you're mestizo. No Mexican down there is, they're all mixed now, right? They came from Europeans and the indigenous people have mixed and created mestizos, Mexicans. That's what we are. So to sit there and say, no, I'm an original Mexican. No, you ain't. No, you ain't. You can't even speak Spanish. You got that big old cactus in your forehead. Can't even speak Spanish. So don't come at me from the left side. You know what I mean? I'm a true Mexican. I speak Spanish. I'm bilingual. I read it. I write it. You know, I sign language it too. You know, I can't do it right here because I only know the bad words. Get off those trains. Get off that. Everybody's doing all these little things that want to make it seem like I don't know what you're trying to create. Like stolen land. This is if you think this is stolen land, then I want to see on your social media those of you that are putting out there stolen land. I want you to go tomorrow and go give your house up to any indigenous person, to any Native American, to any tribe. Just pick one. The Cherokee, anyone. Say, you know what? Not my house anymore. We stole it from you. Here you go. I bet none of you will do it. Not one of you will do. You probably won't even give them a ride to the liquor store because that's how you are. You talk from your mouth out and you mean nothing or know nothing. Back a step. What should we do moving forward? What is the path that we should take?
Well, the biggest thing is to enforce the immigration law, right?
Without apology, right? Without apology.
It just needs to be enforced, and people need to be held accountable if you outstay your work visa or whatever. The thing is, it's not that hard to get that stuff.
Yeah. No.
Right? It's really not.
It's just time consuming and a little bit of money, and it takes money. But you know what?
So you know what?
You're making.
You know what I just had to redo is my concealed carry permit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to go online, you got to do all this stuff, and you got to wait 45 days and all that kind of thing. I could not do it and just say, I didn't need to, you know. And same thing, your driver's license comes up, your taxes come around.
I mean, there's always things you have to do. You don't want to.
There's always things you have to do, and I don't want to do them.
I just had to do my AARP. I had to just update mine. You know what I mean? They're just things you got to do.
Hey, man, Denny's, it's going to be cheaper soon. So
maybe.
Just saying.
But so you're right. But you're absolutely right. Enforce the law, right? Because the chaos that we're seeing is a direct result of selective enforcement. It depends because I'm telling you, if it was a Democrat doing this right now, there would be no rioting. It'd be quiet. You wouldn't even know about it. You know, it would
it's all
even legacy media
around TDS.
Even legacy media would be all quiet about it. It would know nothing, right?
They would be. Well, they are all the time. And with that said, the other side of that, right? We need to enforce the immigration law, but we also need to streamline legal immigration, right? And make it
that I agree.
A better path to
immigration reform on for
legal 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Like Ronald Reagan, remember he had his amnesty thing that he was doing. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah. So all of that is when you have so many people, right? Mm-hmm. When it's like a free for all, what it's been the last 4 years, having a path to legal immigration is near impossible, right? Yeah. Because everybody, what does everybody claim? Asylum, right? They're like, oh, we're being oppressed or we're being attacked or whatever in our previous country. I mean, people from Islamic countries, here's the crazy thing for them. What they do is come over and all they have to say is that I'm from an Islamic country, I'm a Christian, you know, or I'm leaving Islam behind, I'm a Christian and I'm coming over here and yes, they have to go through all this stuff. They have to pay all the money and all those kind of things that they have to do, but they are willing to give up or say they're giving up a religion that now, if they go back to their homeland, they will be killed, right? Because in Islam, you will be killed for denying your religion and switching over to Christianity. Yeah. So people are willing to do dang near anything, right, to come to this country. Yeah. And why would you be willing to do all these things to come to a country that sucks? Why would you want to do that?
You know what's funny? It's funny because what you mentioned is like, I think America is the only country you could come to and actually become an American citizen. Right? You can't go to Europe and become a European. Nope. But in America, you could come here and be an American.
If we moved to Australia and said we were going to be, get our citizenship there and everything and be there permanently, you're still not Australian.
No. This is the only country in the world that you are part of it. That you are. Right. They say, hey, man, boom, here you go. You are us now, bro. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well,
because here's the thing. If you're in Australia, what is an Australian? Well, it's people that
koala. Oh, no.
Yeah, you're either in Australia or you're basically Australian or Aborigines, or you're a foreigner that has got your residency there, right?
Yep.
Somebody
but
in
you're
England,
not Australian.
because here's the funny thing. So go to England, and there's white people and black people, let's say. Mm-hmm. What do you call a white person in England? English. What do you call a black person in England? English. Mm-hmm. Here is one of the only countries that people still refer to their native lands that they came from because they feel it's such a disrespect to themselves to be called an American. Yet they refuse to leave and go to their native land that they came from.
Origin.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, I've got so many different things, Irish and all these things. I don't want to go live in Ireland. Would I like to visit there
Oh
and
yeah,
check
no,
stuff out?
I
Yeah,
want to go there.
absolutely.
That's our
Yeah.
closest relatives to Mexicans is Irish people.
The Irish
Yeah,
people.
yeah, they love to drink just like we do. You know what I mean? Tell stories
That and the
and
Germans,
fight.
man.
You know what I mean?
And
Yeah,
fight. Yeah.
So I hear two things you said already: enforce the law, right, and reform legal
Yep.
immigration. Any more?
Yep. Yeah, we need to stop with this nonsense with sanctuary cities,
100%.
sanctuary states, sanctuary anything.
100%, man. They
So
create legal black holes where criminals hide in plain sight because they know they're
100%,
untouchable.
yeah.
So what you're saying is these blue states, all they're doing is bringing more crime, more because they're bringing in more criminals. And do we see that in New York City?
Yes.
Do we see that in Chicago?
Yes.
Do we see that in Oregon?
Yep, we sure do.
And do we see it in Los Angeles? So I mean, the numbers don't lie. You know, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck.
It's Donald.
Right. All right. So enforce the law in sanctuary cities, states. Reform legal immigration. What else?
Well, the biggest thing is that the citizens of this country, whether you're a born citizen or a citizen that has become legal
Naturalized.
because of naturalized citizen, we need to make sure that those are the people that we focus on, that we return all of our focus and
prioritize them.
Prioritize our citizens, right?
Yeah.
And again, right now, and this may be a topic we cover later, but there's so much going on in the world right now. And people have their opinions on things like Russia and Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of fell to the wayside because of everything that's going on. But why are we prioritizing people in Ukraine? Not that I don't have a heart for it, not that I don't care for those people or the Russian people, right? But that is a totally different place that is warring. Same thing with Gaza and Israel, and now Gaza or Israel and Iran, all that stuff going on. Now the thing is those are big headline countries.
Mm-hmm.
There's wars going on all over the world. There's some African countries right now that are having some problems, and we don't seem to care about them. Is it because of the color of their skin? And the thing is that
it's happened for years in the Congo.
It has, and not that we don't care. But those are regional conflicts.
But let's be honest, Jay. Let's be honest. If politicians really, if immigration was a big thing, if caring about was a big thing, they would be making those focuses, right? They made a big thing. They were crying about it because we brought them white South Africans to America. They were getting killed, man. Their lands were getting taken. I mean, that right there, that is what the definition of being brought and fast tracked through because you are dying. If your life is in danger, your life ain't in danger in Mexico. I mean, it is the cartels, but that's a government problem. They get to take care of that problem. Not that's not America's problem. We have our own problem. It has to do with the aftermath of the cartel, which is the narcotics and the kidnappings and the human trafficking, right? So it's important. And I want to reiterate the beautiful points that you made of what we need to do to go forward, to move forward into a path that's going to help us to refocus our hate, our emotions into something that's more valuable, that's more constructive, and that's enforce the law, right, without prejudice, with no apology, to end sanctuary cities, right? Because again, that's just the only thing sanctuary about it is that you're bringing all the criminals there. 3, reform legal immigration because it is a task to get there, and you know what? People will, if they're going to pay $10,000 for a coyote, they're going to pay $10,000 for citizenship, and that should be the payoff. Hey, charge a little bit more, but we're going to fast track you, right? And then finally, start prioritizing American citizens again. I think that is the key. Now, is that hate? No. That's a leadership. That's what you call someone that cares about his people and that puts America first and its citizens. And I want to say, man, America has always stood for opportunity, right? But opportunity only thrives where there's order, man. And without it, we don't have a nation. We have chaos. And chaos is fed into us by those people that have the power. And I'm not talking about the presidency. I'm not talking about the mayors or the governors or the senators. We're talking about those people behind the locked doors, behind in the dark rooms with all the money, right? That controls both the politicians and society. So
the ones buying the pallet of bricks.
Correct. That's the chaos. So as riots erupt and headlines distort the truth, ask yourself, guys, are we upholding the law or trading away our sovereignty for political theater? You know, because that's what it is. You got these rich blue people and I say not the blue men from Las Vegas, but just people that represent the blue states. You got these people that want chaos, because what does chaos bring? Division, right? And what's a worse country to be in is one that's divided. And I think that's important. I think we need to do better as a nation, and I think we have to do better as citizens of this great nation, so that we're not stuck in that same routine over and over. Because all this is going to happen is, we're going to keep playing the cycle. It doesn't matter if Trump's in office; it's not. It's going to be someone else, and you're not going to like something. Stop playing into your emotions. That's all I have to say about that.
I couldn't agree more.
No.
Yep. Well, everybody, make sure you stay strong out there. All right, and make your voices heard. There are people in your city council, your county, your state, and obviously the federal government that you can get a hold of. It takes a little bit of Google searching online, and you can find all that information. Get a hold of those people and tell them what you think, and let them know. Send them letters, and sitting back and being keyboard warriors is one thing, but getting out there and doing something about it is another.
We have
thing.
too many of those already.
Too many keyboard warriors. We know who you are. We got you.
We see you. We see you on social media, guys. So remember, stand your ground, speak the truth, and never apologize for defending your country, ever.
That's right. Well, listen, before we get out of here, make sure and smash that like button, subscribe to Outspoken, share the show with everyone you know, and hit the bell icon to get updated when we upload a new episode.
I love when you say
what do we tell everybody?
That button. Smash.
Smash it. It's like a smash burger.
There you go. So, guys, remember, always do better, be better.
And as always,
God bless America. We'll see you guys next week. Have safe, be good.
See you next Tuesday.
And thank a first responder.
Love you all.